Hi, my name's Dee and welcome to Sunchild Tarot. Now this isn't one of my normal tarot reading videos, as you probably could tell by the title. I was wanting to have a look at, well, it's 2020. We've all spent a long time on the internet this year. And I've spent an inordinate time here on YouTube, because why wouldn't I? And I've been looking at a lot of the spiritual, pseudo-spiritual channels that are on here, and I've noticed a few what I think are quite disturbing philosophies, or at least disturbing use of, philosophy is probably the wrong word, but factors of philosophies. Now, what I want to deal with today is the concept of the NPC. Now, if you're a video gamer, you know it. It is the non-player character. Speaking as a former tabletop role player long before video games sort of came out, then you stole it from us. We know what the non-player characters are. But in these terms, the phrase non-player character or NPC was first used in a more spiritual than not context, as far as I can see, by a colleague of Dolores Cannon, whose name escapes me. And Dolores Cannon herself can be seen in some of the lectures that she's given, or talks she's given here on YouTube, mentioning about the concept. It comes from the idea of conscious stroke unconscious creation of your own universe. And what was put forward was that the people that are in the background, the people who are walking in the train station when you catch a train, or are in the background at the airport, or as you wander through town or whatever, are not necessarily people. They are set. They are not actors, they are part of the set. They are just there for colour, for flavour. Now, I struggle with that idea to start off with. But then I noticed some channels talking about the NPC in a very dismissive way. And also they were equating the NPC with those that they would say were unawakened or unenlightened. Now, oh God, that's a can of worms. Who is anybody? Who am I to say, and who is anybody to say, who is awake and who is not awake, and who is enlightened and who is not enlightened? And we have got no idea what's going on with a person on their soul level. Are they now this is assuming, okay, the existence of time, which when you're dealing with pieces of the divine that come from eternity, I don't think time is that relevant. But are we talking about a soul in its development where it's basically unawakened? Oh, I hate that phrase. You know, acting in negative fashions here on the face of the planet because it doesn't know any better and it's going through its learning? Or are we looking at the idea of a soul that is acting all these negative ways because it knows that it might have done other paths and it's time to learn these things? Or are we seeing a soul that's enlightened but acting in this way because it is an inspiration, a reason for evolution in those around them, and or 101 other things? As I think Jesus said, let's see if I can get that camera back into focus. I think Jesus said, it's not for us to judge. And then to say that these alleged unawakened, so wrong in the first place to pile people up in that label, are NPCs. They are, oh, what was the phrase? Part of the matrix. But then these same people are also giving these NPCs some form of personal volition and some form of spiritual identity. Well, if you're going by simulation theory, that the world is just a big simulation that we're all living in, then an NPC can be a piece of code. But they wouldn't have any spiritual identity under that model. Now, as far as I can see it, if you accept the existence of the divine, and the divine being the reason for creation, then all things created are a part of the divine. So, by my way of looking at it, there are no such thing as NPCs. But what really worries me is that this idea of NPCs is allowing people who may be well experienced in their philosophies and may be advancing and doing the personal, trying to do the personal work and sorting out their own emotions and all the various things that we all go through, and good for them, and good for them trying, and hopefully succeeding. That trying sounded a bit patronizing there. I didn't mean it that way, but good for them having a go, because in my life and in my philosophy, I'm having a go as well. Sometimes I do really well and sometimes I do not so well. But to discount what by the argument seems to be the vast majority of the Earth's population as NPCs is looking at them as less than, is looking at them as something less than human, less than a soul, less than valid, all the things that feminism fights against, or that racism fights against, or that people pointing out transphobia are fighting against. Now all of a sudden we're just able to discount a huge amount of the world's populace because, they're NPCs, they're only part of the program anyway. Hello, if you take in the reincarnation philosophy, you were part of that program at some point. And so it enables them to look at people as less than. And that, I think, is really, really dangerous. If you believe in the divine, if you accept that there is a divine, whichever way you want to put it, then the only mathematical, logical statement is that all things are part of the divine. All things. So I can, and I'll probably do a show discussing the archons. I could do a show discussing the fall of Lucifer, using this same argument. Because angels have no free will, but Lucifer rebelled. Hello. The archons were a side effect of Yaldabaoth's creation and arrival on this planet. So therefore, they're part of the operating system of this planet, whether you are using a simulation theory or not. Therefore, they are part of creation. Therefore, even the archons are part of the divine. Okay. Their function is a long way removed from divine awareness and knowledge. But how can they be anything other than? So to then turn round and say that a vast chunk of the world's population is not part of the divine, every person, what do you think the greeting Namaste is about? It's, I believe the interpretation is, the divine in me recognizes the divine in you, or the God in me recognizes the God in you. But then again, there's people on the planet that you're supposed to not say namaste to, just to boil it down to a basic level. It's wrong and it's dangerous. And especially in today's polarized society, it's dangerous. Anything that allows people to look at other people as less than at the moment, with how polarized we are, it's going to have a bad end. And I don't want that. And hopefully neither do you. But then again, if you're watching this show, I'm probably preaching to the converted. So it was only a quick one. I will be delivering a few more thoughts like this. As I say, I will have to tackle the Archons at one point and the fall of Lucifer and all sorts of different bits. But I think really you just got quite a big gist of my own personal philosophy. All things are divine. Everything. Cheers.